Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw, editorial director at tigerfitness.com and Muscle and Brawn Nutrition CEO. Guys, it's Q&A Saturday. I'm loaded down with about 7, 8, 9. Who knows how many questions? I can't count. I'm a meathead. Got your questions here. I'm going to answer them. Now remember, if I answer your question in a video, you guys can email me, and my email is below. You can email me. You can get a free copy of either of my books, Massive Iron, which is a 200-page base building book. It contains 20 unique programs, or Massive 6, which is a complete 6-month novice program. It's an alternative to programs like Starting Strength and Strong Lift. So if I answer your question in a video, you can email me. Again, my email is below. No questions asked. I'll send you a free copy of my book. Now, remember, if you guys want to connect with me on social, there's all kinds of links to social media below. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, Tumblr, Tweeter, Twatter, Tutor, all that kind of good stuff, kids. So head down, connect with the big, hairy, ugly dude. So guys, let's get into the questions. The first question today is from JSmitty Fintess. JSmitty Fintess says, big, hairy, ugly dude. That's me. In case you don't know, that's me. In one of your recent videos, you said if you've been lifting more than 6 months to a year, you should switch to an upper lower, or you could take a full body program and do only 2 workouts instead of 2 working sets instead of 3. If you stick with full body like the Huge Gainer program, what would you do about the rep goal for only 2 sets? Now, the Huge Gainer program, there's a Huge Gainer full body program over at Tiger Fitness. You can go to tigerfitness.com and Google Huge Gainer, you'll find it. Now, just to clarify, when it comes to after you get to that 6, 8, 10-month period and you've been running full body workouts, it might be best to consider transitioning to an upper lower program. That's what I'm talking about here, and that's what JSmitty is referencing. Let me get some coffee. And the reason for this is because you've built a fair amount of strength and your warm-up sets will mount. It becomes, you'll spend more time in the gym, you're doing more warm-up sets, and a full body workout can tend to run longer, sometimes hour and 20, hour and 30 minutes. So if you're at that point, one of the options is that you can switch to 2 working sets on the Huge Gainer program per exercise, or 2 working sets on any program, 2 sets per exercise. So he's asking about the rep goal. What should you do? Here's what I recommend. Just find the average. If you have like a 25 rep goal for 3 sets, that's about 8 reps per set. Just multiply that by 2. Just cut it in a third. The rep goal, which is found in my book, Massive Iron, again, you can find that below. Usually in the routines in the rep goal system, or my rep goal routines are in increments of 5. So sometimes you'll have 3 sets with a rep goal of 20, 3 sets with a rep goal of 25, 3 sets with a rep goal of 30. You don't have to stick to 5 increments of 5. You can jump up, you can make a rep goal of 16, 17, 18. So simply cut it in a third. Once you cut it in a third, you can make adjustments up and down based on feel for that given exercise. Once you have a rep goal or a rep total, something you're aiming for each set, you don't have to stick to that. So be flexible, see how that exercise feels, and make adjustments. All right, let me get some coffee here. The next question is from BKS1533. It says, on the Huge Gainer workout, again, we have another question about the Huge Gainer routine at Tiger Fitness. It says you can do 1 20-rep squat set instead of leg presses. I'm doing 235 and hitting the 25 rep goal. How much weight should I use for my 20 rep set of squats? So here's the thing. The Huge Gainer workout has a day. There's 2 squatting days. It's a full body workout. On Monday, or your first training day, you're doing 3 sets of squats for about 25 total reps. On Friday, you're doing leg presses, but you have the option to use a 20 rep set of squats instead of leg presses. So the question is, if you do 20 rep set of squats, what weight should you start with? I would recommend about 50% of your max. Maybe 45 to 50% of your max. In this case, BKS is doing 235 pounds on the squat for about 8 reps per set. So I drop it around to 145, 155. maybe 165 max, probably 145, 155, and try that. See how many reps you can get. There's no magical number, but this is a good place to start. So if you put 145 or 155 on, and it's best to start a little lighter, and you can only do like 15 or 16 or 17, that's fine. You can either come back next week and use the same weight and try to hit 20 reps, or you can drop it by 10 pounds. Now, understand, the first time you do 20 rep squats, they're going to be mentally and physically challenging, meaning you might not be able to get to 20 reps even though you're physically capable. So if you get close in that ballpark, you might want to stick with that weight. So if you're on this type of program, you can eat, I would recommend about 45 to 50% of your max-ish starting for that 20 rep set of squats. And just remember, guys, when you're doing a 20 rep set of squats, make sure you focus on form, trying to maximize your form on every rep so you take care of your lower back and your knees. That's very important. All right, guys, moving on to question 3. This is from Swamp Donkey 17. I don't even want to know what that username means. Let me get some coffee. Here's a long question here. I'm going to cut to the chase of this question. And it is, my question's about Olympic style shoes relative to back squats, low bar, and deadlifts. I've been doing back squats with Olympic shoes for over a year and either barefoot or chucks while pulling. So he's using Olympic shoes on back squats and Chuck Taylors or flat-soled shoes while deadlifting. Said, I've been doing that for a year. I'm wondering opinions on whether or not Olympic shoes are good or bad. He goes on to say, on deadlifts, I'm starting to notice on YouTube at the gym, guys pulling with Olympic shoes. Now, here's the thing. If you are, we each have a different body type. We each have a different bone structure. We each have unique leverages, whatever. Olympic shoes will work good for some people. They won't work good for others. I squat flat-soled. I always have. That's the way I like to squat. If I have a little bit of heel raise, I tend to move forward a little bit, and just that little bit of tweak, that little bit of change, that little bit of difference puts a little strain on my lower back. So I like to stay more upright. I use flat-soled shoes. They feel better for me. If you are using Olympic shoes and they're working well for you, stick with them. Never change something that is working. That is a hard and fast rule in the iron game. Never change something that is working for you. Even if all the other opinions out there on the worldwide interwebs, which is that outside of this little box called YouTube, this little box is called YouTube. Outside of this box is the worldwide interwebs. If somebody on the worldwide interwebs tells you that you should change something that is working for you, let it go in one ear and out the other. Be respectful, smile, and move on. So, now when it comes to Olympic style shoes and deadlifts, I don't like that combination. I don't like it because you're raising your heel a little bit. It's going to move you forward just a little bit. Now the deadlift is very leverage critical. If you're just pushing that lower back, that center of gravity, that center of balance a little bit forward, that head a little forward, you're going to have to compensate and you're going to have to adjust your form a little bit. I don't like pulling on deadlifts using anything but a flat-soled shoe or barefoot. So I don't know why these guys are doing it. I don't recommend it. In addition, that little bit of difference, that little half inch or whatever that sole is going to make the deadlift, the pull a little more difficult. Now this is obviously a trivial difference, but when you're pulling with heavy ass weight, when you're doing heavy pulls for a lot of reps, you don't want that extra stress. You want to minimize the stress. Even those little half percentages, those little 1%, minimizations, those just tweaking the, just keeping the deadlift as efficient as possible is going to save your back as much wear and tear as possible. So no, I don't recommend Olympic shoes on deadlifts at all. All right, let me get some coffee here. I hope that made sense. I felt like I was babbling, kids. Let me get some coffee. All right. Next question is from Cameron. Cameron says, Steve, what is the best line of pull for a barbell row? Is it to lower stomach or upper stomach just below the chest? Look, when you're performing a barbell row and you're trying to row it high, like up here on your upper chest, you can feel it. It just feels more awkward in the shoulders. I don't recommend a specific line. That's really not important. When you're doing a barbell row or a pendlay row, you need to focus on a natural pulling line. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. You want to think about a natural pulling line. Don't artificially try to pull higher onto the chest, elevating your elbows, putting more strain on your shoulders. Plus, if you are trying to pull higher on the chest, you can see it gets those elbows up, so the weight, the center of that weight goes higher on the body. That gets you more forward. That places more stress on your lower back. I don't like that at all. So you have to find a natural position to pull to. I don't really think about it when I'm doing pendlay rows, but you have to find a natural position to pull to so you can protect your lower back. If you are trying to artificially pull high on a row and raising that elbow, the weight's going to come up. That's going to place more stress on your lower back, reduce your leverages, and I simply don't like that as a long-term approach to barbell rows. The key thing with barbell rows or pendlay rows is that you don't pull. You don't pull with your hand. You try to drive your elbow back. When I do a row, I focus on simultaneously driving my shoulder and elbow back. If you do that, if you just stand there right now, and just concentrate on slowly driving your shoulder and elbow back, you can feel a rock solid lat contraction. And by focusing on this, you're going to take a lot of the strain off the bicep. You're going to improve your explosive speed, your power. You're going to use more weight. You're going to build more muscle, and your mom will approve. So that's what you need to focus on rows, not whether you need to raise it up or lower it or what area of the stomach it comes to. You have to keep it natural. You have to protect the shoulders. You have to protect the lower back. There's no magical minutia, little tweak, little change in where you're pulling it to that will make any difference for muscle mass, for building muscle mass. So I hope that makes sense, Cameron. Hey, we got another barbell row question from BenC. Hold on, guys. Let the big, hairy, ugly dude get some more coffee. Give me some love. I need some caffeine molecules. BenC says, are bent over rows really as superior to dumbbell rows as some gurus say? So BenC stated a guru's name, and he said, this particular guru says that barbell rows or pendlay rows are superior to dumbbell rows. Apparently, the extra weight used and the extra stress on the posterior chain and core makes bent over rows a far superior exercise to dumbbell rows. Wait a minute, kids. Wait a minute. So the logic here is that barbell rows place extra strain on the posterior chain. I'm going to tell you something. I want you to remember this. Regardless of what guru said this, I don't really care. Let's just address the issue. It's saying that barbell rows place more stress on the posterior chain and the core. The big, hairy, ugly dude, that's me right here, big, hairy, and ugly. I got to a barbell, a pendlay row of 405 by 5. I got to a one-arm dumbbell row of 270 by 10. So dumbbell rows, I've been strong. I've been superhuman strong on both of those exercises. Still to this day, dumbbell rows are far more taxing on my core because you're at kind of an odd angle. Your core is twisted a little bit. I can really feel my core, my serratus, my obliques, all muscles I don't even know exist up in there working harder. I can really feel my core working harder, much harder on dumbbell rows. Now, why does some random guru say that barbell rows are superior for the core and posterior chain than dumbbell rows? Probably because they haven't got to those elite levels of strength in the pendlay row and the dumbbell row where they really start to feel that dumbbell row really crunching, really impacting, really working the core to an extreme level. Dumbbell rows, I get cramps during dumbbell rows in the abs and the obliques, all kinds of stuff. So I really have to be careful with dumbbell rows. They really challenge my core. On the other hand, with barbell rows or pendlay rows, when I'm doing them, sometimes taking that little, narrow foot stance like you're pulling and then rowing, sometimes it puts strain on my knees. So I don't really like barbell rows or pendlay rows compared to dumbbell rows because of that, and because they tend to put more strain on the lower back. When you start to get superhuman strong, pendlay rows, barbell rows tend to put more strain on the lower back. That's another reason why I prefer dumbbell rows. And let's do some mathematics, kids. Let's do some math. If I was able to do 405 by 5 on pendlay rows, that's 405 pounds with both hands. Now look, I was able to do 270 by 10 on dumbbell rows with one. 270 times 2 is what, kids? It's 540 pounds. 540 pounds on one arm rows is greater than 405 pounds on barbell rows. So if you compare side to side, there's more stress. You're able to generate more power, work that side of the back and lats with more weight, more explosiveness, more power using one-arm dumbbell rows. So one-arm dumbbell rows are superior from a weight standpoint. They reduce strain on the lower back. And from my experience, they work the core far to a much more challenging level than barbell rows. So look, I feel dumbbell rows are a superior exercise, and that might be controversial, but that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. Look, either way, it doesn't really matter which variation you use. It's not going to matter. Splitting hairs over whether barbell rows or dumbbell rows are better for you is just ridiculous. It's a waste of time. Do both of them. The big, hairy, ugly dude does both of them. Why? I mean, these debates, can sometimes just spin us in circles, and we're like, guys will go to the gym and they'll tell their buddies, hey, the big hairy ugly dude said dumbbell rows are better than barbell rows, and your buddy might like barbell rows and he might be making good progress with barbell rows. So just remember, when I say one exercise, I feel one exercise is superior to the other. Look, it's a trivial difference. And don't think you have to do one instead of the other. Do both, for the love of Pete. Do both of them. That's how I approach it. So that's all I really have to say. Let's move on to the next question. It's from Pimmela. Pimmela, I got to get some coffee before I answer your question because I'm the big, hairy, ugly dude and I have no coffee. Oh, it tastes good. Straight, black, straight and black. That's all you need to know, kids. And look, if I call you kids, it's a term of endearment. I'm 47 years old. Most of you guys are young enough to be my sons and daughters. So come on over to my house. I'll cook you breakfast. Pimmela has a question, and I'm going to sum it up. He says, it's a deadlift question. He says, as a beginner, should we use relatively high weekly volume for all exercises, including deadlift, or should deadlifts have a lower volume or frequency, as it uses many muscles that are incorporated in the squat and bent over row, etc. Now, those of you that follow my channel know that when it comes to deadlifts, I don't advocate pulling over 90% frequently. Maybe once every 12 to 16 weeks, you can try to pull over 90%. I don't recommend a lot of volume and rep volume per week, and I don't recommend a lot of frequency. Look, you don't need a lot of rep work and frequency with the deadlift. So even though I think a lifter, a beginner to intermediate, needs about 10 to 12 sets per major body part, 9 to 12 sets per major body part per week, you only really have to do 1 to 2 sets of deadlifts per week as a beginner to early intermediate. You can do more, but in my opinion, I'd like to see about doing 2, maybe 3 max. And don't overwork the reps. Especially don't push sets to the point where your form's starting to break down. So deadlifts are a very unique exercise in my opinion. I've never seen value in overworking them. They place more stress, in my opinion, on the body than squats, even though squats are still the king of exercise. But I found the more deadlifting I do, the more toll it takes on me physically. So if I try to overwork the deadlift, I come back the next week and feel weaker. So for example, the big, hairy, ugly dude, that's me. Lately I've been going in the gym and pulling 600 for reps. And then I would do a back off set like 500, sometimes for 8 or 10 reps or whatever. But I got in a groove where I was obsessed with getting 600 by 2, 600 by 3, 600 by 4, etc. And I was pulling too heavy too frequently. So even pulling too heavy too frequently on the deadlift, I would go in like every second or third week and the weight would feel very heavy and I'd have a very difficult time. So if you overwork intensity, which is the heavy weight, if you overwork volume, etc. on the deadlift, it usually becomes counterproductive. So 2-3 sets max, maybe 15 reps, 20 reps max on the deadlift per week. If you want to do more work to help bring up your deadlift, do low rack pull and power shrug, the combination of low rack pulls and power shrugs, high rack pulls and power shrugs, power cleans, any number, power shrugs, loaded carries, whatever. Anything that works the trapezoids, anything that works the back. Get your upper back strong with barbell rows and dumbbell rows, but don't overwork the deadlift. You can build the deadlift by not overworking it. So I hope that helped, Pimmela. All right, we got 2 more questions left. Hang tough, guys. Next one's from Flavio Gil. Flavio says, hey, Steve, I loved your book, Massive Iron. Thank you. I appreciate it. He has 2 questions. I have big wrists, and skinny ankles. Do you think I'll get stronger and more muscular on my upper body compared to my lower body because of that? So he has smaller wrists, or excuse me, bigger wrists, but smaller ankles. Here's the thing. The bigger boned you are, the more muscle potentially you can build. Now, the thing you need to understand is that this is trivial. It might be plus or minus 5 pounds depending on the individual. So he wants to know if he's because he has big wrists and skinny ankles, if it's going to make a difference versus upper or lower body muscularity or development. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question. I can't predict. Everybody's body is different. Like for me, I have huge natural triceps. I have great looking triceps, very aesthetic triceps, but my biceps look like ugly ass potatoes. They just don't look good at all. So muscles can vary. I'm naturally small boned. When I was in college, my wrists were like 6.3 inches, which is small. 7.5, like that, that's a larger wrist size. So I'm naturally small boned. I have kind of smaller wrists and bigger ankles. And even though I have smaller wrists, I have some of the largest arms you'll see. Now, they're only 19.25 inches, but if you check out the pictures I post on Instagram or Facebook compared to natural bodybuilders like Doug Miller or Sean Clarita, they have smaller arms than the big, hairy, ugly dude. So even though I am a small bone lifter, I'm gifted with a lot of tricep size, which makes my arms just look absolutely immense. So the point is that each muscle is going to be different. Even though you might have some difference in your bone size between your ankles and your wrists, there's so many variables involved. Genetics for an individual muscle, you might be surprised. You might have amazing chest genetics, amazing bicep genetics. You might have even though your ankles are smaller, you might have just amazing quad genetics. It's hard to tell, but I always tell guys to focus on the things they can control, and that is their diet and their effort in the gym. That is all you can control. And if you focus on those variables, you're going to get bigger and stronger than you ever could dream about, than you ever thought you could. And that's all you can do. All you can do is all you can do. All you can do is focus on the things you can control. And 3-4 years down the road, after you've built a base of muscle, you can analyze what's going on. You can see where your weaknesses are. Maybe to make a few tweaks to your few changes to your training, make some adjustments and try to bring up those areas. Maybe try something different. But even though big bone guys have a potential to have a few more pounds of muscle than small bone guys as naturals, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you have smaller ankles and bigger wrists that your legs are going to be smaller. In fact, those smaller ankles might make your quads look bigger. So it's the art of illusion. That's what bodybuilding is, or muscle building is. So it's hard to say. Now, Flavio has a second question. It says, how important is height for strength? He says, I'm not very tall. He's 5'6". Do you think it's realistic for him at 5'6" to get a 300-pound bench, 400-pound squat, and 500-pound deadlift in 5 years? Heck yes. If I was training you, I'd want that in 2.5 years. Absolutely. The strong guys generally have a more difficult time with squats, with deadlifts, and with bench press because they got these huge long arms. It's harder to bench. They got these huge long limbs. It's harder to squat and deadlift. So most of the bodybuilders I've met, most of the real strong guys I've met, and there are exceptions to this rule, of course. I've met a lot of strong guys that are 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2". But the majority of top-level bodybuilders I've met and powerlifters, they're not tall guys. I've met a ton of bodybuilders. Most of the best bodybuilders in the world are shorter than the big, hairy, ugly dude. At 5'6", I've seen a ton of bodybuilders, natural and enhanced, that are superhuman strong. So that shouldn't hold you back at all. The only thing that'll hold you back is having an improper diet or not eating enough protein and calories. So no, being 5'6" is not going to hold you back at all. The only thing that's going to hold you back is if you get it in your noodle up here, that 5'6" is going to hold you back. I was a skinny fat kid, 143 pounds in 11th grade, a twig, small bone. But back then, back in the olden days when we had stone wheels on our cars, no one told us about limitations or genetic potentials. I just went in and I just busted my ass in the gym and tried to progress. And I ate a lot, and after a year and a half, my squat was pretty close to 365, and my weight had gotten up to like 175 or 180. I didn't know about limitations. I didn't know where I should or shouldn't be, and I just encourage you guys listening to take any of this natural bodybuilding talk, this limitation talk, and just throw it out the window. Who cares? Just go in each day and try to improve over your previous effort. That's all you can do. That's all you can control. And that's where the magic happens. So go make something happen. Exceed expectations. Look, can you get 3, 4, 5, 300, 400, 500 pounds on those lifts? I want to see you get 350, 550, and 650. Screw it. Go aim big. That's what I want to see you do. All right, one more question. This is from Mario. So, Steve, I'm doing the Massive 6 program. That's out of my new book, Massive 6, which is linked below. I'm leaving the country for a week. I'm not sure what kind of gym I will have access to. Likely no racks, not even a barbell. So he's going to be untrained for a week. He's going on vacation, going to rest, drink, eat, do whatever you do on vacation. How should I proceed after missing a week of the program? Here's what I recommend. If you're going to go off on vacation, you're going to go off and have some fun, I recommend one thing first and foremost. Don't think about the iron. Don't let the iron consume your life when you're on vacation. Go off and have fun. Now, I know Mario's probably already in that mindset. He's going to go off and he's going to have some fun. But I'm speaking to a lot of you guys because I've been through this myself. Sometimes when I was younger, I'd go off on vacation or I'd be away from the iron for a week or I couldn't train and it would just consume me. I would be obsessed with it. I'm missing workouts, I'm missing gains, all that kind of stuff. And I'd miss those moments. It would take away from those moments spent with family or friends or loved ones, etc. So just go have fun. Don't think about the iron. Go make that week count. But when you come back, you kind of want to do a break-in week where you're only doing about 2/3 of the volume and the weight is lowered maybe by about 10%, maybe 15%. It's a break-in week. You've been away from the gym. Don't go hard and heavy after a week and a half off. Just not take it easy, but just drop the sets by maybe 1/3, drop the weight by maybe 10%, break in, get in the groove so you aren't super sore after those workouts. And then the second week, jump back into where you were and gun it full speed. So Mario, I hope that helped. All right, guys, that's all the questions I have for this video. Again, if I answered your question in the video, you can hit me up via email, linked below. I'll send you a free copy of either of my books, Massive Iron or Massive 6. And guys, if you want your questions featured in a Q&A video or if you just want questions answered, you can find my Q&A link below. I answer every question posted, every one, and I have for 8 years. I've probably answered 30,000 questions in 8 years. That's no bull crap. So if you have a question, hit me up. It's easy. Just go over to the Tiger Fitness forum. There's a Q&A link below. I answer every question posted. And guys, please, if you've made it this far in this video and have yet to subscribe to my channel, please do. I would appreciate the support. So guys, as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Get big and strong, kids.